This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome one and all to the iRacing Esports Network this Wednesday night. Really looking forward to bringing you this one. We are SimSpeed TV. This is the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia, the top GTE series in the AusNZ Sim Sphere. We're at Sebring today for round 4 of the series, starting at sunrise and going on into the morning. It's currently 6:45 in the morning in sim time. Really interesting to see how the drivers handle these conditions. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me once again, Brock Cat-Eye. Brock, it's going to be an awesome one. Sebring, one of the greatest and most historic tracks in the United States, and we got a full field of GTE cars going around here for 45 minutes.
Hi everybody. Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting race, as we're going to see, obviously, with the morning going on, temperatures rising, that sun coming up and starting to beam down on parts of the track and really play havoc with drivers in their setup, and be interesting to see who has set up for and I guess accounted for the fact that this is an early morning race. So I'm curious to see how we go, and I've got to say, hearing the scream of these GTE cars around Sebring is amazing. It is a beautiful sound, particularly those Porsches, just as they scream around the circuit on those straights, are beautiful to hear. But we've got a nice large field here tonight, something around 44 cars, so there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just coming up to the end of the practice session at the moment. This track, as we've seen many times before on SimSpeed broadcasts, it's one of those places that is that really shows its age, but in a fantastic way. Fun fact about Sebring, if you didn't already know, this track is purposefully left under-maintained, so the bumpy surface is preserved. That's how important it is to the racing here, and it provides a huge workout for the suspension of these GTE cars. And given the different types of cars we've got in this series, Porsche, Ferrari, Ford, they handle it in different ways.
That's exactly it, and that's the beauty of this series. But something we've commented on in the last few rounds is that the balance of performance between these cars actually seems to be pretty dead on. We've seen some great racing between all three manufacturers, particularly in that top 5 to 10 region, where you have Ferrari, a Ford, and a Porsche all going at it, and strong in certain parts but weak in others. But no car has really been dominant over any other in the series, which is great to see, and just means that we get even better racing out of what are already great races and race cars out here.
Absolutely. This is one of the most competitive series we've got in the AusNZ community right now, and some of the best drivers are taking part as well. There's been a couple of team changes in the last couple of days, Brock. Unfortunately, it's resulted in the demise of one team that we've seen quite a bit of, and that is All Star Motorsports, which is a real shame to see. Unfortunately, that team over and done with for now.
For now, yep, with a few of All Stars drivers heading to a few other teams around, and Scott Solosky is in here with Trick Sim Sports now. All Star, unfortunately, yeah, won't be seen on track for the time being, but we'll still see their drivers on track with the Warren boys heading to Altus, and as I said, Scott Solosky appearing now with Trick Sim Sports with their very strong GT lineup, as we have already seen, and Trick as well, bringing on Bird and Trent Thomas as well into their lineup. So tonight they have got an all-out assault on Sprint Series Australasia, which I'm really keen to see how they go.
Yeah, certainly. I am too. Of course, it's a bit of a shame to say goodbye to Trent and Alex. They are former teammates of mine now, so a little bit of a sting there, but I am really happy to see how they go at Trick. It's going to be awesome. Grid is now up on screen. And currently on pole position, we have got Forzan El Nabi, John Peasnick joining him on the first row. Anthony Winkleman and Alexander Bird, his first race for Trick, in fourth. Blake Neck in fifth with Luis Paulo Gallon, Bo Albert, Ross Rizzo, Corey Ott, and Scott Solovsky rounding out the top 10.
And then we have Jackson Suzlin Harlow in 11th, Zach Hanlon 12th, James McKee 13th, Martin Silvassi 14th, Trent Thomas, one of those new Trick Sim Sports drivers, in 15th, Mark Rayner 16th, Justin Strickland 17th, Reese Keane 18th, Daniel Cheney 19th, and David Jellings rounds out our top 20.
Gene Fiddy's in at 21st position. Ryan Jerrick, who we saw having some fantastic battles with Zach Hanlon last round, he lines up in 22nd. Adam Briggs in 23rd. Brett Cananzi lining up in 24th position. He'll be looking to improve on what has been a bit of a poor run of luck from him in the past. Paul Wood and Richard Hunter on the next couple of positions. Gary Cousins, pleasure to meet you in Bathurst, mate, in 27th position. Rob Harris and Josh Burden, 28th and 29th, and the top 30 rounded out by Benjamin Johnson.
And we have David Haynes here with us too, and he can take away the rest of this grid for us tonight as the pace car pulls away.
Yep, 31st is TJ Brown. Thanks, Brock. G'day, Reese. 32nd, Paul Mansell. 33rd is Paul Nichols. 34th is Aaron Farmer. 35th is Nino Natale. 36th, JC Richards. 37th is Wayne Hewitt. 38th, Cameron Stubber. 39th, Stephen Bartholomew. And towards the tail end here, 40th is Matt Hoppets. 41st, Chris Polly. 42nd, Alex Court. And 43rd, Jack Anderson.
I am so sorry, David. I cannot tell you how sorry I am for completely missing you once again. Just goes to show that I'm sorry, mate.
A lot on your mind, a lot of sports car racing too. And I believe we do a full lap of the pace lap here at Sebring. So a little bit of time for the drivers to think about how they're going to manage their race start and what their first stint is going to look like, because we are going to have everyone have to stop for fuel at some point in this race.
Yeah, we certainly are. It's a very cool track here, and a 50% fuel tank limit in this 45-minute race, so the drivers are going to have to stop at least once. It's been difficult to pick how the strategy affects the cars here, because as Brock and I were talking about, David, the balance of performance between these cars is incredibly spot on, very competitive between the three cars we've got here.
Yeah, and Sebring's a pretty long lap as well. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got plenty of straights. It's got tight hairpins like the one they're just coming through now. It's got some faster corners. So everything that's the strength of each of the models of GTE cars, well, there's some of it here around Sebring. So that also makes it pretty even, because wherever the strength is of each car, there's somewhere around this circuit that they can use it to find pace.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Forzan El Nabi, he is coming off the back of a fantastic win the last round at Motegi. John Peasnick alongside him will be looking to make good on what was a complete non-result for him at Motegi with technical issues befalling him there. So both of these guys having something to fight for and stake their claim in this championship. Anthony Winkleman as well, he's been absent from the last couple of rounds. He's been on holiday, so good to see him back in the field, and he's come back very strong, Brock, with qualifying third here.
Well, these Trick Sim Sports cars, they never disappoint with getting up the front of this this very competitive field that we have here. So, as you can see, we've already got a few of them up the front with Winkleman and Rizzo as well as Alexander Bird. So, quite a few of them up there in their Porsches. And so something I did notice is the Porsches are quite dominant tonight, whether that's because there's a high percentage of them in the field or just because the car agrees with Sebring a bit more. Who knows? We'll see as the race goes on, but here we go. Pace cars coming around to come back into the pit lane, and we have 44 of these beautiful GTE cars lined up two abreast.
Yes, indeed. Forzan El Nabi is going to be the one controlling the field here. He's on the outside of the last turn, Sunset Bend. But there is no sunset here. We are racing at 7 in the morning. El Nabi already gone as the green flag will fly. And Peasnick under attack by Winkleman there. So Peasnick, unfortunately, caught out a bit by that start as the pace car goes through the pits. Forzan El Nabi got a nice clean run through turn 1, but behind him, it's really hotting up Ross Rizzo off the track. Oh, goodness me. Fortunately, they got a bit of traction control to help them out there. This is the main choke point. Got to make sure that you all get through here nice and cleanly. Don't damage your cars. Just slotting in. That's the way to do it. Oh no! Oh no! That's a car! Oh, somersaulting over the bridge! That was Harlow, was it? Goodness
And
me!
safety car, yellow flag has been thrown there. That was immense. Wow.
Spectacular, but for Harlow, spectacularly awful start to his race. Tell you what, give him a 10 for clearing the bridge there.
Didn't quite stick the landing, unfortunately. So I think, is that Coriot just trying to get his nose in there? There was maybe 95% the width of a Porsche 911 RSR to fit the nose in, but not 100%. And as you say, that is a huge, huge accident into the inside wall, then over the bridge, and into the outside wall for Jackson Souza and Harlow. Had a pretty good run last week. He showed a lot of pace in these cars. He's off to the worst possible start.
Yeah, there was another car involved in that as well. I'm not quite sure who that was. Daniel Cheney, we're hearing, unfortunately, involved in that as well. He ended up getting stuck in the wall. And Zach Hanlon with some damage as a result of that too. He's managed to recover well, though. Oh, goodness me. A second incident at turn 1 we're taking a look at. Yeah, Daniel Cheney. Goodness me. That's something that we're only just seeing now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. We did miss that in the midst of everything that was happening. That's something to pick apart.
Having a look now, looks like Cheney's gotten a serving into the wall in the braking zone there and taken out Ryan Jerrick with him in that incident after his car was spinning out of control after that contact. So that's really unfortunate there for him. Not much he could do there. On board with Ryan Jerrick now with our CPR kart parts replay. And we'll have a look and see what happens down here. That Ferrari, I'm not sure who that is, a Geodesic Racing Ferrari has come up from behind and caused that incident. Just caught off guard by the early braking there. Obviously, first up, you're not wanting to push too hard and cause any incidents, but unfortunately, that's exactly what we've gotten here. Yeah, very unfortunate there, but under safety car, this has worked out pretty well for Trick. They are now running 1-2, and John Piesnik back to 3rd place, and Alexander Bird right behind him there. Going to be an interesting battle to watch in the coming laps, but the safety car is going to be out for a couple more laps. Unfortunately, it hasn't quite come out late enough in the race for drivers to mess around with their strategy a bit. Unfortunately, coming out on only the first lap, these guys aren't going to be able to use the safety car to jump their rivals in the pits, David.
Yeah, I was just thinking that the moment the safety car got called, what does this do for the strategy? Because if you're anyone in the top 20, if you pit now, take some of the fuel you're going to need, well, it'll shuffle you all the way to the back of the line, and there's plenty of cars out there on track right now, still at least 35 circulating, and it'll only save you a couple of seconds off your next pit stop that you're still going to need. So anyone in the top 20 will absolutely have to stay out. What it will do, though, is they'll be saving fuel right now, and that'll widen the pit window. Some of these guys, like El Nabi, Winkleman, Piesnik, Bird, and Gallon, could go very long on this stint now, and people towards the back of the train, well, they could pit now, take some of the fuel, and have a shorter final stop. It's all going to be very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like El Nabi actually hanging back quite a bit from the safety car at this stage, but that is completely fine in most people's books. As you said, David, they are probably fuel saving. Very, very low revs on El Nabi's engine, so they are in max fuel save mode at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And like David was saying, the strategy game will be at play here. We know Trick Sim Sports are mega with their fuel saving and mega with their strategy. So looking through the fuel here, most of that top 10 are running in 4th or 5th gear, very low revs, not much on the throttle only when they have to be, conserving as much fuel as they can to push the limit of their stints in this race. Obviously, we only have a 45-minute race here, so we're actually already 5 minutes into this race. So
Lights are out on the safety car, is that correct?
Lights are out on... No, lights are still on the safety car here on my screen.
Yeah, still flashing for me.
I'm not sure what's happened there, but they will still be flashing. I'm guessing next lap or the lap after we will go back green racing. Not sure if we're going to have wave rounds or not. We do have Susan Harlow asking if there will be wave rounds. Obviously, with that incident occurring for him, he is in pit lane at the moment, hoping to get that wave round and get back in the fight. As we were saying earlier, he has had mega pace in these GTE cars. A good signing for TTL.
Yeah, certainly. Harlow's definitely impressed in this series in the first few rounds, challenging on the podium at Brands Hatch, and unfortunately making some mistakes at Motegi. A little bit of a fake there from Anthony Winkleman going into the pit lane as well. But yeah, Harlow really impressed with his on-track results so far.
That's it, and it's a shame that that incident came about from just, I guess, first lap shenanigans, if you will. You know, everyone trying to find a spot on track, and unfortunately for the likes of Ott, it just happened to be not quite enough space for him to get down there, and that's just the chaos of lap 1. So yeah, for Susan Harlow, as you said, a spectacular incident there with him flipping end over the bridge. I don't think you'll see many more incidents like that in iRacing. That was quite interesting to see, but hopefully we get some green flag racing after this. Only got about a quarter of the way into this rather long Sebring lap, and well, the circuit itself, just while we're on the safety car here, the safety car lights are off. The circuit itself is quite technical and quite interesting. It's got a few sneaky passing spots and some very good drafting opportunities to get a move done, should you choose to do so.
Yeah, certainly. It's kind of street circuit-like in the way it flows, and the walls are pretty close in some sections of the circuit, but it still maintains a high average lap speed with very long straights and heavy braking zones. It's quite an interesting circuit to drive around, especially in one of these cars. We just saw Zach Hanlon there on the cameras making his way through the pits and getting his damage repaired. He hasn't lost out very much from that, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. Looked like he just got the panel beaters to buff out whatever damage he received in that lap 1 incident.
Yeah, that's it. So now his car will be looking nice and handling nice for him on this restart, and hopefully he'll be able to work his way back up through the field. Obviously, with that pit stop there, he will have lost some time, but Hanlon has had some good pace in that Ford across the last few weeks in that Altus Esportsmobile. So you're interested to see how he can carve his way through the field. We'll have about 35 minutes left to go in this race once we do go green again.
Yes, indeed. And they're just making their way out of Tower Turn now, so they've got, time-wise, say about a third of a lap still to go. There's a lot to think about here for the drivers, David. How do they conduct themselves on this restart? It's going to be single file, probably not going to be as hectic as it was when the green flag initially fell. The drivers have had an opportunity. Oh no, the caution's been extended, we've just seen, so unsure what the reasoning behind that was. We were going to go green this time around, but not now.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's going to be quite a lot of pacing, and it's taken away a lot of the time. Oh my goodness, look at that fire truck. I like that fire truck. Sorry, it really distracted me. It's got more flashing lights than Bo Albert, and it really lets us know that we're under caution. Yeah, but to my point I was going to go to is that this extended safety car, this extended caution is really going to compress all of the racing down into not very long at all, and the final pit stop is now going to be for a very small amount of fuel, because we know that the consumption is maybe a quarter of what it would be in racing conditions behind the safety car. So really, we're going to see some short pit stops. We're going to have to see a lot of quick fire racing. If you're one of the guys further down the field and you think you can move up some spots, it's going to have to happen quickly now, because really I'm not sure we're going to get more than 30 minutes of racing in.
Yeah, doesn't seem that way. Lights are out on the pace car once again, so I presume we will be going green this time by. Jackson Harlow has just caught up to the back of the field, as has Corey Ott, so those guys have another chance to try and salvage some kind of result from it.
Which would be good for the likes of Harlow in particular, I think. He has a lot of pace and he qualified fairly well. and again has been up there with the rest of the field. So we've got a couple of cars peeling into the pits now, maybe to repair some damage there. I saw a couple of damaged cars come in, so while they can take that opportunity, put a bit of fuel in, get some damage repaired and get back out there. But Harlow, my sincere hope is that we see him carving through the field, because I think that he can have an absolute charge in what will end up being our half an hour of racing here, and really try and make his way back up from what is at the moment 38th position back to that sort of top 20, top 15 area.
Yep, for sure. That's definitely a possibility. Daniel Cheney also going at full pace to try and catch up to the rest of the field, but timing on my end shows him as a lap down, so I don't think he will be able to salvage many more positions from that one on the track, at least. He'll be hoping for a bit more attrition, which can definitely happen at Sebring. It's a very brutal circuit.
Well, that's it. And as you said before, the surface itself is very rough, very bumpy, which makes braking, turning, overtakes, pretty much every part of racing that you could think, it makes it harder. And that's why this circuit, as you said before, Reese, is such a challenge for our drivers out there, because they've got to handle the rough curbs, the rough track, the surface changes, as well as rising track temperature and rising air temperature. Like, we've already had a little bit more temp put into the track, and as this race goes on and we get the next half an hour out of the way, that sun will just keep creeping up a bit. We'll probably see a bit of temperature rise as well in between now and the end of this race. So, so many variables to consider, and these drivers have to take in every single one of them on these pace laps and try and assess exactly what they've got to do in this next half an hour.
Yep, that's right. Got to remember that virtual UV heating up the virtual rubber on the virtual track. iRacing going very deep with their dynamic track simulation here, so it's going to be a challenge for the drivers. Of course, they have had a lot of these drivers competing in the Daytona 24 just a couple of weeks ago. They would have had a bit of experience. Oh, well, yeah, of course, yeah. Bo Albert definitely riding that high with Zach Hanlon, but they've had experience. They've had good experience with the track heating up as the sun rises, so they will be able to employ some of that knowledge here.
That's for sure. And that once that sun does creep up above that horizon, there will be parts of this track that will be almost blinding to race around, because that sun will be right in their eyes, and it does get in the way a little bit because of how bright it is, and it's right at eye level, similar to what we would have seen in the Bathurst 12 hour. Oh, we nearly had an incident on a safety car there. Sorry, I'm just looking at Susan Harlow in the back of the pack here. Everyone has slammed on the brakes. I don't think we had contact made, but it was very close. Puffs of smoke coming up from a lot of cars. But we're green now, so we look at Forza Elnabi, who's got the great run there. Bo Albert is coming alongside Louise Paulo Gallen across the line there. He'll have the outside line coming into turn one, but maybe able to make that work. So, no, Louise Paulo...
Oh, look at Ross Rizzo on the inside there of Blake Neck. They're making contact there. Oh, Gallon just maintaining control, and Albert... A little bit of contact in the rear, Gallon locking up, but staying ahead. Goodness me, well handled by both of those guys, but a little bit too much biffo going on here. Ross Rizzo and Blake Neck continuing to go side by side. They've turned into a couple of corks in the bottle. Scott Sislovsky, the newest signing, one of the newest signings for Trick Sim Sports, is able to get right up to the back of these guys now. Tell you what, Elnabi and Winkleman have done a very good job to stay out of trouble there, because, goodness me, back in the pack, there's a red.
Oh, my goodness!
That is no good. That's a Geodesic car and David Jellings as well. Big shame between those two. Not sure what went on there, but wow, really struggling is Gene Fitty staying control of that Ferrari. That was a very heavy smash.
Yeah.
Engine is blown for Jellings there, and suspension for Gene Fitty's not looking very good at all. Here's the replay of how that happened.
Yes, indeed. We're going to take a look here. Coming into the hairpin. Oh, looks to me like... Jellings just going across the inside of the hairpin, and they just came together on the exit. Got to remember, the track bends to the left and right on the exit of that hairpin, so both of them going into one there. That's very unfortunate.
Race control saying that the racing will stay green, so it's still green out there, it's still racing. See what happened. Jellings is sort of on an odd rejoin, and just side-to-side contact makes them both unstable and into the wall.
And we'll
It's
shoot.
on for the lead, guys. I'm just noticing. Anthony Winkleman really pressuring Forzan El Nabi up the front here. The two Trick Sim Sports teammates. Winkleman really pushing on the exit there.
Yeah, Winkleman is all over the back of El Nabi right now. His pace is right up at the moment. They're dropping off the likes of Peasnick and Bird behind just a little bit, which is helping Winkleman's cause in that he can just focus on assaulting El Nabi and getting past him. But now that top four are spread apart fairly evenly, and just behind them is Gallon and Albert is quite close to Gallon and still just trying to make his life difficult. So that top four is going to be a nice little battle pack, and then we've got Albert before, who was flashing his lights desperately at Gallon, trying to cause a mistake.
Yeah, oh, we got an incident back in the pack. Martin Silvassi's had a bit of an issue on the exit of the hairpin. Just been passed by Rayner and James McKee right on the back of him. I think that might have just been a bit of a lose through the hairpin. But Silvassi not having a good run at the moment.
Yeah, unfortunate for him. He had some great races last season, but also some very bad luck. So that bad luck just isn't helping him out here. But his Trick Sim Sports teammates up the front there are doing very well right now. Definitely getting away from the likes of Peasnick. I wouldn't be surprised if we see these two work together a little bit and try and pull away, use the pace they've got. A little bit wide there for El Nabi. But what we've got developing here is three little battle packs of 2, 2, and 2. First and second, third and fourth, and fifth and sixth are all in their own little draft train. And I imagine you want those Trick Sim Sports guys at the front to work together. Don't hurt each other, but help each other get to the end of this race and take a 1-2 for this team after they've just built up a very good driver roster.
Yeah, if they can somehow get Bird by Peasnick, it could be a 1-2-3 for them here. Side by side, though, back in the pack, Key and Silvassi still going at it. Silvassi having an inside line there for turn one, and this is a potential overtaking spot. It's a very fast turn, but it's also
contact!
Stop Apex! Goodness me! James McKee just holding on there around the outside. Goodness me, he could have lost that car. That would have been a spectacular incident, but really good car control from him there.
Yeah, that had the potential to be another big flip moment, but that was very well done there to control that car. And just that, I imagine Silvassi probably thought he was clear and just had that little bit of overlap, which is what pushed him wide, but well done by both drivers there to keep control of their cars and keep this race going green.
Martin Silvassi covering well from that, actually gapped him as we take a look at Peasnick. Just made a bit of a mistake, but you can tell that there is pressure being put on these guys up the front, David. Big slide for Peasnick, and Bird is now on him. Oh, look out! Oh, look out! Oh, goodness me! They are really pushing it here. Bird on the grass, and he's going to the moon. There's going to be contact there. Peasnick, he's round. My goodness! Oh, great recovery though, and not taking anybody else out with him. Goodness
A little bit
me!
of retaliation, I would suggest. Bird had the run at Peasnick. Peasnick tried to close that gap. Bird then held it on the grass. You're going to get a replay of how that happened. Bird has the run here, closing. Peasnick just squeezes him out onto the grass. And I think at that point, Bird's tempers flared a little bit. He says, well, I'm coming through regardless. He's made a huge dive, and Peasnick, well, probably was allowed to turn in there, but might have seen that coming. Probably should have opened up the steering. They've made contact. That's cost Peasnick, but both of them will continue running. Tempers flaring, and like I said, just 25 minutes of racing left. This has really condensed the action, that first safety car that we had.
Yeah, certainly has, and I mean, my personal opinion on that one is I think Peasnick should have given Bird a bit more room initially, but then that later contact, I don't know, Bird probably should have held off a bit there, but nonetheless, we're not in the driver's seat, and tempers, of course, can flare there, but the race is continuing on, and Bird now under big pressure here from Luis Polo Gallon. Worked out well for Trick because they are now running 1-2-3, but Bird obviously be carrying a little bit of damage from that contact with Peasnick. Gallon knows that. You can see him having a look there in the braking zone.
Yeah, Gallon, we know he's a fierce competitor. One of our championship contenders from last season. He fought down to that very last minute of the race. And again, we're seeing this here. He knows how to drive these sports cars, and he drives the absolute wheels off them. So he, like you said, he knows that Bird might be carrying a bit of damage, and he's going to try and take advantage of that. Bird has pulled ahead just a little bit here, but if he does have a bit of damage, I think I can see some scuff marks on the right-hand side of that car too. He may well just come under fire on the straights if he can't get that run.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. He's got a good run out of Le Mans curve though, so Gallon not able to get a huge run on them at the moment. You can see that draft starting to work though. Gallon just starting to pull even with him as they come down to Sunset Bend. So intriguing battle here for third place, and you can see Gallon is able to handle that last turn very well.
Yeah, exactly. That Ford, if you set it up nicely, it is an absolute bullet. It will go fast, and Gallon has been trying to master this thing. Takes a very tight line. Almost looks like he's aiming it to go down the inside there of Bird, but won't do it from that far back. We'll just have to hang in here for this section of track. Very technical, but very good at making time up as Bird monsters those curves, but Gallon avoids them just a little bit more. That Ford, very, very particular about how you drive it. You do not want to hit curbs too much, but for the time being, it looks like it's settled down at the moment. I want to focus on a little battle we've got going just behind that. We've got Ross, Rizzo, John Piesnik, and Scott Solowski. 1, 2, 3, and Piesnik is going to be looking to come back through the pack here. Solowski is trying to, in that new Trick Sim Sports livery, trying to make up a few spots. He did start in 10th place and is now 9th, but now he's got Piesnik right ahead of him there, and he's quite close as well to the back of Piesnik. So maybe he had to make a move here and stop Piesnik's charge back to the front.
After the incident with Bird, Piesnik I think will be a little bit rattled, but he's got the ability and the racing now is to be able to get back into that racing state of mind that he is so dominant in. Still a lot of pressure there from Solowski. I think it's fairly obvious here now that Trick see Piesnik as one of their main threats now that they've got an increased number of drivers in the field and they are running as well as they are. So now that Piesnik is in this Trick sandwich, he needs to watch out because Solowski will probably put a move on him if he shows the slightest little bit of hesitation.
That's it, yeah. I think that Solowski, he's a very good racer, a very smart racer, and that I know from my time at ASM with him. He knows how to drive these cars. He's not impatient. He will wait until the right time, even if he has to keep flashing every now and again and just staying behind and chipping away at it. So he's doing a good job to stay behind there, and we'll see. Right now, Piesnik hasn't managed to pull away too much, and I think being in this Trick sandwich is going to make his life a lot harder to get back up to the front of that field, as we do have a replay on screen now.
Yeah, Alex Courts had some fun in the final sector here, side by side into that's Le Mans curve. Has he just been squeezed out on the exit, or has he done it by himself? Maybe he's turned in a little bit too tight. That sent him for a little slide. And Ryan Jarek, I'm not sure did anything wrong there. I just think they were side by side for a long time, and unfortunately Alex Courts turned in a bit too tight. We're looking again for the lead of the race though, because Anthony Winkelman is staying right with Forzan El Nabi. And I want to say, Trick Sim Sports, 6 cars in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, definitely shows not just their talent spotting ability, bringing on those new drivers, but the ability that they already had in the first place. We've seen the likes of El Nabi, Winkelman, and Rizzo make many appearances at the very, very pointy end of this field. I think for now, though, doesn't seem to be much of a battle going on as we take a look at Zach oh, goodness me, that's TJ Brown with problems. He's had a few issues, has TJ. Saw him have a bit of a moment out of the last corner a lap or two ago. Go to a quick replay, see what happened here. The feeling this may be a bit of contact, perhaps. He went for the move. Oh, just a little bit of a lock-up. Oh, goodness me. Talk about overshooting the corner. That just goes to show these GTE cars with no ABS, they're a different beast to break.
Lots to see and do in Florida, but I wouldn't recommend taking that excursion if you can avoid it.
Yeah, certainly not. Better to stay on the racetrack, probably go down to Miami, possibly Disneyland, we'll see. Still close up the front. as we look at Reese Keane and Justin Strickland there. These guys fighting for 13th and 14th, and there's a car stopped. That's Benjamin Johnson for CMR. That's a very awkward spot right in the middle of the last turn. It seems like... oh, no! No, 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 no. That is not the way to go about it, I think. Very unfortunate there.
Right onto the racing line, too.
Probably would have done better to... oh, goodness me. Johnson just lost it on his own there and immediately tried to get it going. But I think he maybe should have waited a little bit longer there. That's unfortunate for him. Staying with the replay, because TJ Brown then had a moment coming through the first turn. Good recovery, but again, that's a very awkward spot to stop right on the racing line at the exit.
Well, that's it. It's a hard spot to get around as well because it's blind coming around that corner, so you don't actually see what's going on until you're on the driver there, and that's unfortunate because he got a whack did occur there that will give damage to someone else as well as his car.
Yeah, indeed. Very true. Top two still cruising as they have been. I get the feeling Winkleman is perfectly fine sitting behind El Nabi for now as we take a look at Rizzo and Peasnick. Peasnick actually seems to have gapped Silovsky a bit and really pressuring Rizzo now.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Peasnick, he has the pace to be up there, and there's a reason that he was up there to begin with in second place in qualifying. It's just that move with Bird that unfortunately shot him down the order, so it's surprising that Gallon has got through there on Bird, and there's contact! Gallon is on his roof! What is going on? Oh no! My goodness! Whoa. No! He is falling back through the pack there, and he's nearly had contact again. A Trick Sim Sports car to slow right up there.
Goodness me, what
is going on
happened
there?
to Gallon?
We will get a replay of this, guys, because that was immense. Gallon got that pass done fair and square on Bird, as Bird had been defending pretty hard there, but it looks like there's just been contact made that has pitched Gallon into the wall as Bird tried to come across the track.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. It's, again, it seems kind of 50-50. Gallon moved over a bit too much, but then again, Bird just did not leave him the room there on the exit.
That's it. Again, it's a bit of a hard one for us up in the comms box with all of our cameras, but with so much action going on to assess. But yeah, that's really not a good one for Bird and Gallon as well, and it's just not good to see another car on its roof. At least he didn't do a gymnastics routine like Jackson Susan-Harlow.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Again, Alex Bird, you know, attracting a little bit of controversy, I think, in this race. Normally what we've come to expect from Trick Sim Sports is fair but, you know, fast racing. Alex Bird, I don't think he's necessarily done too much wrong here, but he's definitely held his ground a few times where the sensible thing is sort of bite your tongue or back out of it. And he's still in 4th place, but through that, Bo Albert's been elevated up into the final podium position.
Yeah, and Bo, this is one of the only races this season that he's going to be able to do. So being able to get a result like this would be awesome on his end. Again, it just goes to show staying out of trouble is often the main form of success that will bring success, rather, in online motorsport.
It's been Ross Rizzo's modus operandi with Trick Sim Sports for the longest time, where, you know, he'd just pick up podiums here, pick up this there, make sure he always brought a clean car to the checkered flag, and that's what's won Trick things like the V8 Scops Bathurst 1000 and, you know, the Sprint Series Australasia here. And Alex Bird definitely quick, not quite embodying those ideals, as Luis Polo Gallon has taken his pit stop, gotten that car repaired, and is rejoining the race. And I wonder who else we'll see come into the pits maybe soon.
Yeah, well, the drivers only have 15 minutes of time left on the clock, so they're going to have to think about making those pit stops pretty soon, I would gather. El Nabi and Winkleman, their gap up the front is as good as it's ever been, as a result of those incidents just before. So, could expect them in reasonably late, I would gather. It probably wouldn't offer them any advantage to try and jump people.
Oh, that's it. Those guys there, they've got a nice little draft train going, and I'm going to assume Winkleman's probably saving some fuel behind El Nabi. Take this pit stop as late as he can. Try and jump El Nabi in the pits with that fuel advantage and run away from there. I think, by the looks of it, Winkleman has that pace to jump ahead of El Nabi if he wanted to, but he's playing the smart game and the long game here. Just hanging in there, you know, his gap is going from 3 to 4/10 each lap. So it's not like it's blowing out or anything. He's just playing that long game, that strategy game that we know Trick Sim Sports is so well known for. Just going to have a quick look at their lap times. It was a 155.4 from Anthony Winkleman, and from Forza Nonabi a 155.4. So they are lapping identical lap times at the moment as they go along, trying to make this a 1-2 for Trick Sim Sports.
Yeah, and putting that into perspective, Bo Albert's last lap time was a 55.6, so El Nabi and Winkleman doing very well there up the front, nice and consistent. That's the kind of stuff that wins you races. They are looking in a perfect position for this one now. In terms of battles throughout the rest of the field, we're looking at Mark Rayner and Martin Silvassi for 10th and 11th right now. Silvassi on a bit of a recovery drive. He did show a lot of potential in the initial phases of the race, but he's had a couple of problems so far. Rayner, though, he's on a real surge. Started in 16th, currently running in 10th, so very impressive run from him. Also, taking a look a little bit further back, Jackson Harlow has found himself up in 12th position now. How's that?
He's doing very well. This is what I was hoping he would do and thought he would do, is that he would make those moves and get back up there. He's got the pace and he's got the racecraft. We've seen that in the previous weeks. And yet he's doing such a great job to get up there, and he's still going. Like, he's not stopping here. We still have 12.5 minutes left in this race, and I guarantee you each one of those seconds we have left will be him pushing his absolute hardest to get points and results out of this.
He's closing up on the back of Martin Silvassi here, though, because he was nearly 9/10 of a second a lap faster the last time. Sure, they've only got maybe 7 laps left to go, but Harlow is absolutely flying, and he just might be nearly fueled to get to the end, and if he's not, he'll have a fuel advantage over Silvassi.
Yeah, he certainly will. That's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Jackson Harlow, we thought that his event was done, but he has managed to salvage something very special from this. Even if he doesn't manage to get past Silvassi and Rayner, that's still going to be a fantastic run from him in this event. This battle is continuing to rage on between Silvassi and Rayner, and a little bit further up the field, the Peasnick-Delovsky battle has reignited. Seems that now Rizzo is the one leaving Peasnick behind. Oh, Silvassi. Oh no, that's a real shame. Well, that's put paid to that particular battle, guys.
Yeah, and he looks like he's done that all on his lonesome there. He's just come in braking and locked the rears there and just spun around at the hairpin. So nothing that Rayner in front of him did. It wasn't a move or anything. He's just spun around there. So just I guess a bad day getting worse for him.
Indeed, someone made a mistake there as well. I think that's Bo. Now Alexander Bird is right on to the back of him. And this is a proper battle pack we've got here. 4 cars and a train. Albert, Bird, Neck, and Rizzo. These guys all fighting very hard in what is going to be the last 10 minutes of the race now. That safety car period, and it happens so many times in this series. In these 45-minute events, you get one safety car, and it cuts a huge portion of racing time out of the race, so it becomes a true sprint.
That's it, and I mean, these races are already close enough to sprint races as it is, and now these guys are just absolutely sending it as hard as they can to make up these positions, because their fuel stops are going to be, well, rather small. And Albert has run wide there at turn 1. He's pushing this car hard, but he's making mistakes while he's doing it. So these guys behind are hungry for that podium position. Bird, a couple of mistakes made. You got Neck and Rizzo behind him there too. who, again, will be hungry for those podiums. They have been performing quite well in the last few rounds, and any points are good points in this series, considering the competitiveness.
Absolutely right. We are now under 10 minutes to go. So the clock ticking well and truly for these guys. 3 Porsches and a Ford battling for the final position on the podium. That is the awesome racing that we love to see and that we've seen in this series basically from the outset. When it first started as a small GT3 series, we saw great racing all through the field, and it's only just gotten better and better and better as time has gone on.
Oh, well, that's exactly it, and that's what we love to see in this series, is the competitiveness that's come from it, and these massive fields with such variety of cars across the 3 available GTE manufacturers at the moment is absolutely awesome. And it's what we love seeing, and right now, Albert is pulling away a little bit, but in the background there, Bird and Neck still nicely connected, and in the foreground of the image, you get to see Winkleman and El Nabi as well connected up the front there, still only 2 or 3 tenths apart. I'm watching them with a Hawkeye here, trying to find out when they pit, because when they do, and El Nabi's in the pit lane there, so now Winkleman will keep on going. This has to be the fastest lap he has set around Sebring in his life, because El Nabi is going to be trying to undercut him with fuel here. This is going to be absolutely awesome to watch. This strategy game has come to a fore.
It certainly has. Bird and Neck have followed him into the pits. Trent Thomas jumping in as well. Mark Rayner into the pits as well. So I think the pits are going to become a huge flurry of activity over the next 90 seconds. Harlow in too. So have to wait and see what comes of that. Gary Cousins jumping into the pits as well. Peasnick on a recovery drive, I think. Neck has jumped Bird. That is going to be interesting, that particular battle there. Oh, and I'm seeing a car. Oh, Peasnick. Peasnick just lost it through turn 1, guys.
Just a bit of Tokyo drift in the background of the shot there. And now we watch the replay of what on earth he's done. But we've seen this, a few of the Porsches, maybe not looking quite as stable as the other cars. What's he gone and done? Turns the wheel into the first turn, little wiggle, and then big old slide. Big slide. You can, you know, hear some music in the background for that one if it was that movie series. But yeah, he carries on, but indeed pushing very hard, and unfortunately that's lost him some spots as Trent Thomas, what's going on there? Is that a lap down car? But certainly holding him up with Zach Hanlon behind.
Yeah, certainly. That's Gene Fiddy's, I believe, in the Geodesic Racing Ferrari. A very unfortunate event for Fiddy's. Just taken out very early, but Hanlon and Thomas are now in this big fight as we take a look once again at the battle between Blake Neck and Alexander Bird. But briefly going back to Peasnick, just while we take a look at this battle, Peasnick had pitted a couple of laps before, so he has not had a good run coming out of the pits. Those last couple of lap times from him not optimal, and that half spin in turn 1's not going to be good. Our leader in the pits, Winkleman, is now in. Ross Rizzo is staying out. He now assumes the lead of this race.
This is going to be interesting. We got to keep an eye on Anthony Winkleman here, because El Nabi is coming through the last turn now. Winkleman is out of his pit box. El Nabi coming across the start-finish line now. Winkleman left the pit lane. This is going to be close, but I think Winkleman will grab this from El Nabi. El Nabi coming into the braking zone at the apex now of turn 1. He has the speed at the moment, but Winkleman has jumped him in that pit cycle. This is what he was trying to do. 6 minutes left to go. A matter of laps, really, about 4 laps, I'd say, left to go now. That's what my JRT is telling me. And Winkleman has played the strategy perfectly to jump his teammate with so little of this race left to go.
Yes, indeed. That was a really good call there from Winkleman. Just save fuel behind his teammate. Make his pit stop just that bit shorter. A 6/10 quicker pit stop. So that shows you how much fuel Winkleman has saved. We take a look, though, at Solovsky, because he's just gone off track through Big Bend. That is not optimal. That's not what you want to see. CPR kart parts replay. Have a look at what happened to Solovsky here. He was battling hard with Peasnick coming through the opening turns of the track, and he's just lost it on his own.
That was a bit odd there, because he's
on the exit. It's
brutal.
brutal.
He's just tapped that curve. Like, he hasn't even properly mounted it. So that car must be very susceptible to curves because he's just tapped it and it spun him around. So unfortunate to see, because Solowski was having quite a strong night tonight for his first outing with Trick Sim Sports. And yeah, just put him a little bit further back down the order. Still in 11th, only -1 on his starting position, but he was really getting up there.
Real shame there for him. So we've seen a few slip-ups from some very fast guys in this event. Sebring and the morning conditions really putting paid to that. Rizzo in to the pits, so we should assume that Anthony Winkleman will take the lead back now, just coming through Sunset Bend. So Trick Sim Sports, they have played, once again, the strategy very well. Let's take a look at Rayner and Solowski. Solowski now will have the fire in his belly, wanting to get more positions, try and make up what he has lost as a result of his very unfortunate spin.
That's it. So he's a smart racer. We're just watching Ross Rizzo here, who's come out of ahead of Blake Neck and Alexander Bird. So he's jumped both of them now. Neck is very pacey right now, looking to make that move work. Bo Albert up ahead of them there, now in 3rd place. But Rizzo has done very well to jump these guys in that pit cycle. Again, just that strategy game that Trick plays. So 3 laps to go on this lap, according to my JRT here. And he has jumped them for 4th place. This is what we saw from Ross Rizzo in the previous seasons. His consistent results are what got him championships. And right now, he's looking to grab one of those again.
Yep, and all through staying out of trouble. Once again, I say those words a lot, but they mean so much in the context of this championship. Ross Rizzo has been the poster boy for staying out of trouble in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia. And now, though, he is going to have to fend off Blake Neck and Alexander Bird, both formerly of Fusion Sim Racing, and in Blake Neck's case of Evolution Racing Team. Both of those guys, very aggressive racers, very fast drivers who know their way around these cars. Rizzo is the smooth, consummate professional that he always has been. As we see Zach Hanlon making a little bit of a mistake there, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how that battle goes. Let's have a look at what happened to Hanlon here. Oh! Ouch! That is quite the serve there that Solowski gave to Hanlon. Oh, goodness me, it just got worse. Gallon! Oh my goodness, just goes from bad to worse for Louis.
It's really
bad for Hanlon because he's already used his spare parts earlier in the race and he's missing some off it now. It'd take a lot to repair that car with 2 laps left. That's really hurt Zach Hanlon's race.
Certainly has. Have a look at Alexander Bird with a big run on Blake Neck out of the first turn. This is going to help Rizzo slightly. These guys pushing as hard as they possibly can. We've only got 2 laps to go here. 1 minute and 50 seconds on the clock. And that is Ryan Jerrick having to recover from what I believe is a spin. Nonetheless, have a look at this battle. Bo Albert is going to come under pressure from these guys pretty soon. We could have that 4-car battle eventuate again.
And also, just looking back at the leaders here, Winkleman hasn't actually cleared El Nabi as much as what I thought he would. El Nabi is within 4/10 of a second of Winkleman, with coming around to complete the last half of this second last lap. So I don't think this battle for the lead's all over, and the battle for the podium is still looking like it could be well and truly on, if not for 4th, 5th and 6th behind. So I don't know where to look right now, because there is a lot going on in this top 6 drivers.
Yeah, for sure. Bo Albert staying out in front of this pack here, but looks like Bird has fallen off the back of Neck and Rizzo there. So just faltering a little bit in that section of the lap. We're right on board with Blake Neck in the very low electronic area of this Ford GT. Got a little bit of a draft run there on Rizzo coming into Sunset Bend. A little bit of an earlier turn in. He's going to extend the corner out as much as he can, get on the throttle as early as possible. But looks to me like Rizzo's hooked up the exit very nicely so far. This is going to be the last lap for these guys. This is where it all counts.
That's exactly it. And right now, Rizzo is still doing very well to keep that car out in front. Albert looking pretty safe for now, but Next still has a chance here. And in the background there, Alexander Bird, who we have found tonight to be a very fierce competitor.
Winkelmann! Winkelmann, sorry. He's just had a bad run out of turn 3, and El Nabi right on the back of him now. This has turned into a proper battle between the teammates on the last lap. Sorry to interrupt, guys.
No, that's all right. I was expecting then through that hairpin for El Nabi to try and get that better run out and do the under-over, if you will, but he didn't. He just took a very long line, so that's ruined his run. But Winkelmann will keep that lead for now, but I'm interested to see how El Nabi takes this last half of the race here. As they come around, Winkelmann, a little bit of a lock up there, shoots the car a bit wide. El Nabi still driving this car beautifully, trying to find any way around. He won't be able to find a way through here, one line, but he's right on the back of Winkelmann. This is gonna get exciting, guys, if it isn't already. Wait until the back straight here. I think we're gonna see a mega move for that first place. El Nabi has a little look, lining the car up quite nicely, trying to find any way to distract Winkelmann and get him out of his way. Winkelmann might just have the gap, have to see the run that El Nabi gets onto this back straight. Still quite a ways back here, almost half a second. Don't know if the draft is enough to fully meet to the back of Winkelmann.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that's that done, but they still have 3 apex corner to go in the former Sunset Bend. One of the most brutal bumps in motorsport here. Can Winkelmann hold it together as they come under the bridge? They've got a bit of lap traffic ahead of them, but that's not going to be any trouble. Winkelmann exits very nicely, and he's going to take the win here.
Alexander Bird has just spun at the last turn.
Oh no! Alexander Bird right on the inside there. Oh my goodness, he was having a good run there, fighting for 3rd place, but unfortunately, he'll have to settle for a position lower in the top 10. What happened to him?
I just switched cameras to him as he had a spin there. He's done that all on his own into Sunset Bend. Just spun the car around. The rear end has gotten loose, like we've seen the Porsches doing in this race a little bit. Similar incident to Piesnik's down at turn 1, but this time he had to do a flick spin and lost a few positions out of that. Piesnik, in fact, getting back past Alexander Bird after that incident.
Yeah, and I think in Piesnik's view, that might be some justice for what happened before. And Harris and Hanlon going almost side by side across the finish line, but Harris winning out there. My goodness, that was a real shame for Bird at the end there. He was, all things considered, his result was looking to be really good.
Well, that's it, and I think that there are going to be a lot of stories that come from tonight that are not going to be happy ones. Let's put it that way, because there are a lot of drivers that had a bunch of potential, and then it all went downhill from there for them. So, and there is a bit of chatter in game at the moment about some of the incidents that happened during that race. So there's certainly some issues to sort out come the end of this, but we won't comment on them. We are the voices of the track, not the guys to argue with this and show our opinion. But a good race overall tonight. We had some great battles throughout the field, and again, the pace was pretty much even across that top 10. There were some great battles towards the end there. I was expecting Blake Neck to sort of catch up to Rizzo a bit more and really give him a run for his money.
Yeah, well, the results are on screen, guys. A lot of what-ifs to come out from this one, but Anthony Winkelmann taking the win there from Forzen El Nabi, and Bo Albert, an excellent podium for him from 7th place. Ross Rizzo holding on there for 4th. Blake Neck finishes where he started. John Piesnik and Alexander Bird, 2 of the big what-ifs of the race, unfortunately coming together and then having their own issues later on. Trent Thomas up from 15th to 8th. That's an awesome run for one of Trick Sim Sport's newest signings, as is Scott Sadlowski, also in the top 10, along with Mark Rayner.
And then we'll have a look from 11th place now. Martin Silvassi still making up a few positions even after what was a bit of a hectic race for him. Jackson Susan Harlow in 12th. A great recovery after flipping end over the bridge there. 13th is James McKee. 14th, Justin Strickland. Louise Paulo Gallen made it back to 15th after a couple of incidents in this race for him. Joshua Burton 16th. 17th, Corey Ott, again involved in that incident with Harlow on lap 1. 18th is Adam Briggs, 19th Brent Cananzi, and rounding out the top 20 is Rob J. Harris.
First, Zach Hanlon, unfortunately dropping down the order after his little incident later in the race. 22nd goes to Gary Cousins. 23rd is Wayne Hewitt. He goes up 14 spots. 24th is Reese King. 25th, Richard Hunter. 26th, Paul Mansell. 27th is Cameron Stubber. 28th, JC Richards. 29th, Ryan Jarrett. And the 30th position goes to Aaron Farmer.
In 31st, we got TJ Brown finishing where he started after a few issues on his end. Benjamin Johnson in 32nd. Alex Court making his way up from 43rd to 33rd. Good run from him. Matt Huppert and Chris Polly along with him. Stephen Bartholomew in 36th was Jack Anderson in 37th. Paul Wood just running out of fuel, as we saw on that onboard briefly after the start-finish line. Gene Fiddy's big what if for him. He had a lot of potential there. Daniel Cheney, Paul Nichols, Nino Natali, and David Jellings, your last cars to take the race start there. But guys, that brings that to an end. And now we're going to have a few questions to ask our drivers. In fact, we have all of the podium sitters in the commentary box with us right now. We're going to go first off to Anthony Winkleman. Anthony, congratulations. Seemed like you used Forzan a bit there to take the victory there with a bit of fuel saving.
Yeah, it was tough because the pace was so similar, and the only thing I could do, I didn't really have enough to get past him, but the only thing I could do was just hold on and fuel save.
Yeah, well, you managed to make it work there, but things were getting pretty leery between you two, especially at the end. What happened to you on the last lap? Just messed up the exit of the first couple of turns?
Yeah, there was a lap car that spun in front of us into turn 2, and it kind of threw me off my line for the next bit, and it got a little bit sideways and then off the track, and luckily Forzan is a teammate, that's all I can say.
Yeah, certainly. Well, nonetheless, you managed to get a 1-2. You managed to get a 1-2 finish there, which is really beneficial for you guys in the trick camp, and it's the start of, I guess, a bit of a new era for you guys with some new sign-ups for the team.
Yeah, man, we've sort of pedaled along pretty well with the 4 of us, but I think it was time to bring some, fresh air into the team and some new talent that's sort of will really benefit the team and benefit themselves as individuals as well. So it's definitely going to be a strong year for us.
Yeah, he is hoping for you guys. Before we let you go, any shout outs you'd like to give?
Just a shout out to Trick Custom Fabrications and also Night Rider Designs for the liveries, SimSpeed for the broadcast, and GLA for hosting the series.
Jeez, great interview.
Speaking of the man that you just heard there, Forzan El Nabi, great finish for you in second, but could have been a first.
Yeah. It could have been P1, but not really. Didn't really go for the move there. Turn 5, I think it was, and I just I'll let him have it. Really, I think he's probably in a better position points wise than me in the series. So yeah, I mean GTE for me is just a bit of fun for me when I race in these series. So yeah, I wouldn't mind giving it to him. He had really good pace though. Yeah, he kept me honest throughout the whole race, and yeah, I'm really happy with the 1-2, and I think Ross finished 4th as well. And yeah, we had really good results throughout the field. So yeah, overall pretty happy.
Yeah, you definitely must be. Even though, as you say, it is a bit of fun, you still got mega pace in these cars, and you're a serious contender in this series. So the confidence is definitely there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Wouldn't mind having a run here and there from time to time, because yeah, I just like to help my team setup wise and give them feedback when they're readying themselves throughout the week. So yeah, I'm really happy to help in that way. But yeah, GTE is not really my forte, but yeah, it's good when I race it. It's good fun.
Will we see you in Interlagos?
Yeah, I hope so. Try and make it.
Well, definitely hope to see you there, Forzan. Thank you very much for joining us. Final driver interview for the night from Altus Esports. We got Bo Albert in the house with us, Mr. Flashy Headlights himself. Welcome, Bo. Were you expecting a podium?
No, absolutely not. It's been so damn long since my last podium. I'm thinking back to the Porsche Super Cup Australia in 2017, probably at Lime Rock Park. So it's been so long since I got a podium. So definitely wasn't expecting it, but absolutely thrilled. Got a bit lucky with a couple of incidents, but I mean, you've got to take them when they come, don't you?
Yeah, certainly do. It seemed like we saw some uncharacteristic slip-ups from quite a few of the guys that we know to be very talented in this series. Do you think it was a case of the conditions or the track or both catching people out?
Probably not the conditions as such. You know, it's a really talented field in this series, and I don't think that would have caught too many drivers out. But the track definitely, because the amount of surface changes, the grip is constantly changing wherever you are on the track. So perhaps that was playing a bit of a factor, and also just a couple of drivers perhaps being a bit aggressive. There were two incidents in particular that happened in front of me, which I thought didn't really have to happen, but I mean, it's GT racing, you know, it's not Formula One. You know, you can lean on, you know, each other's cars. You can have a bit of fun. And I think that's the beauty of GT racing. So sometimes there will be crashes, but whether it was the track that played a factor, it's a bit hard to say.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that we love to speculate on. But Bo, talking with the or observing what you've been saying outside of the broadcasts, is this going to be one of your only outings in this series?
It was supposed to be one of my only outings, but after this, I think I might have to return. So I should be back, hopefully, but I obviously can't commit too much because I do have other commitments in the background. But fingers crossed, I'll be back for at least the next round.
All right, excellent stuff. Well, hopefully, we'll see you at Interlagos. But before we let you go, you can have an opportunity to thank who you want to thank.
Yeah, absolutely. So a massive shout out to the guys at Logitech G and Astro Gaming in particular. You might have seen on our Altus Esports Facebook page, they recently sent out the entire team a massive care package full of all these new goodies, keyboards, mouses, wheels, you name it. So they are an absolutely fantastic sponsor, and we are so blessed to hashtag blessed. I guess I'm Lewis Hamilton now, but we're so happy to have them on board. Motum Simulation, who we use their rigs for the VSR Showdown, and also a lot of training in between races. They're an awesome help. Cube Controls, who are recently signed on to us as well, and who have some of the best looking OSW wheel rims you will ever see. And of course, Cams, who are massive supporters of VSR and ourselves as well, and iLiveries for creating what I still stand by as the best looking livery on iRacing.
It is a really nice livery that you guys have there on the Altus cars. And hashtag blessed Bo Albert, waiting for your hip hop album, inevitably coming very soon. Yep, you've painted yourself into a corner here, Albert. That's Bo Albert from Altus Esports, your final podium place getter there. Well, David, unfortunately, Brock has unfortunately had to leave. But my goodness, great night of racing once again. Bit of drama too.
Yeah, I think the safety car robbed us of 15 minutes of racing, but didn't take away any of the action. It just sort of boiled it down into a more potent mix. We weren't short of action, weren't short of on-track passes, and definitely not short of controversy and tension out there as well. And that's what the Geodesic Racing, Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia has been turning on every single round. And I can't wait to see where we go in the remainder of this championship, because it's going to be good to watch.
Yeah, certainly. Really looking forward to that. The next round is at Interlagos next Wednesday night, so make sure that you join us again on the iRacing Esports Network for that. Big thanks on SimSpeed TV. Here, I'm Reese Gardner. Joining me, David Haynes and Brock Cat-Eye. Please subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network and subscribe to SimSpeed as well on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.